We don't have an intro.
That shall be your intro. Me. That's my intro to our video.
Okay. My head really hates me.
Excuse myself. Choking on water over here. Welcome back, everybody. We are back with another video after the holidays because we decided to take a break.
But we're back.
And hopefully we're going to be posting more often.
Yes.
Just took a break, I guess. I don't know.
I think we will be.
It was an exciting, interesting year, but we're ready to get back into it. New year, new start, new channel. No, we're staying on the same channel.
I don't want to start another one.
So, today we are going to be talking about an Amish funeral.
Our experience with it.
Yes. Do you want to tell them who it was for?
Sure. So, a while back...
Probably about like 2.5 months ago.
It was October.
I think it was November.
Was it November?
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. So a while back, my parents were like, hey, this Amish guy passed away. I had known of him, but I didn't know him personally or anything. They're like, hey, we're coming to Wisconsin for the funeral. And I was like, oh, yay, that means we get to see you. And we didn't really think that we were going to go at that point.
We weren't planning on going, but we ended up going.
Yeah. As the time came closer, we were like, we should go. It'd be a fun experience, even though I don't really know the person. So we decided to go, and it was a wonderful experience.
Sorta. It was different. It was a unique experience, for sure.
That's a better way to put it. Yeah, I always get super nervous when we're like ready to go to Amish funerals. I don't know why, but it's very nerve-wracking for me. But this time...
It was an exciting experience. So her parents came down and went with us, as well as some other ex-Amish people that we knew.
And we met up with a few others.
Yep. And we met up with them at the house of the guy who died. So
felt kind of weird to be there, but
empty house, but that was somewhere we could go that we knew nobody would be there.
Yeah.
When we all got together. So we went from there. It was about like a 2-hour drive from here or something like that. And we headed off to the funeral, met the other ex-Amish people, and then headed to the funeral. We
were given a time. I don't know who got the time, but somebody was given a time for the funeral. But that was very incorrect because we got there and they had already been started for like an hour. So
yeah,
we had to go in even though they had been going for like an hour. And it was very awkward. When we first got there...
We all got out of the minivan.
Yeah, and we walked towards like the shop area where they were having it. They had a
They had like a pole shed. A split level, like a double level pole shed.
And the like upstairs, I think at one time was the house, so they just like sat in the different rooms up there. And then downstairs they had it was just like
one big open room with a wood stove.
Yeah, but they had two separate services going because there were so many people.
Yeah, I think there were probably
300?
250, 300 Amish people there.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
So we were lined up like according to how we were related. So
one of the guys met us at the entrance of the barn.
Yeah. And I was like, we're probably not going to be let in. But they were like, okay, well, line up in the way that you're like more closely related. So like my dad was one of the first ones there, and there was also another guy that it was his dad that had passed away, so he was the first one, and then my parents, and then us and then,
after your uncle. Yeah. Anyways, they got us all lined up, and then we tramped into the barn all together in single file line. And as soon as we opened the door, the preacher stopped preaching, and everybody's sitting on wooden benches, probably packed about this close to each other. So the whole service just stopped. And we walk in, and of course we had to sit on like the farthest end of the shed, so we had to walk past everybody, walk past the casket, in front of the preacher.
In front of the preacher, yeah.
And sit down on our bench, file in, and yeah, we just sat in the wooden, hard wooden benches. I'll probably insert a picture of what they kind of looked like. They're no backs, like just a wooden bench for you to sit on.
Yeah, I forgot what it was like to sit on those things. We were seated right along with the family, like right along with my uncles and stuff. I was very impressed that we didn't like sit in like a corner of the room or something, but they had room there. I don't know why they had room there, but they did.
But they did. God made room for us.
Yes, he did.
But important thing to note was you were related to the guy. She was related to the guy who had died twice. Once through her father and once through her mother that we know of.
It was like...
So all of your relatives, for the most part,
on both sides were there. Like, as much as they could be. But, like, both of my families were there. Which was kind of nice because I got to see them all.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes.
We sat down and the preacher picked up his preaching again, which is like totally different than anything I'd ever experienced before. Like I kind of knew.
What was it like?
It literally was like, almost like a chant of sorts. Like if you think about the way they said it, like he would get quiet and then he'd kind of raise his voice and talk really loud and then he'd get really quiet. And then it just kind of was like this wave and wave and wave, and he just talked for, we sat in the service for 2.5 hours of preaching. And that was after probably about an hour before they had been going.
Yeah.
Before we got there.
Did you understand any of it?
I understood a little bit of it, enough, like, because I have some general understanding of German and a little bit of Dutch just from knowing Fanny's family and being around them and other people. So I could understand a little bit, but not a huge amount. So I was just kind of sitting there listening to this foreign language be yelled.
That'd be so strange.
In front of me. And there were a couple preachers there, so they like went through the different preachers.
Yeah, they had like 3 of them there. One of them kept staring at me until it was time to preach. So we were sitting here, and he was like sitting over here. It would be, I don't know how to explain this best, but he was sitting on this wall, and so he could like stare straight ahead, and like I was in his line of sight. And I did not understand like why he kept staring at me. And later I found out that was my uncle by marriage, and I did not even recognize him.
Because he's a bishop preacher now.
Yeah. And I also forgot that, so I didn't realize that, but he was probably just like taking it all in.
Yeah.
But I understood a decent amount of it. I was very impressed with how much I could understand. There was just like a few big words that I had to just kind of guess what it meant, like with the surrounding context. But it was very interesting because they would preach and they would be so close to the actual truth in the Bible, but then they would add in that like good
you have to listen to the community rules and all that.
Yeah. It was very hard to listen because you're like, oh, you're so close, and then you're not. So, but we got through that, and then at the end they read the obituary. Is that what it's called? Yep,
they read it in Dutch and English, which I'm pretty sure the only reason they did it in English was because I was the only like English person there.
Well, I think they did like for a whole of us because they were
everybody that wasn't Dutch.
Yeah.
Or Pennsylvania at least.
But I understood it the first time. It really wasn't that difficult.
Yeah.
To understand. I mean, you could just kind of pick things out.
So they read the obituary, and then they started filing past the casket, which
like they
started upstairs.
In a weird way.
They started up. Did they start upstairs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All the people came down.
And all of upstairs, so we waited for like, we were
15, 20 minutes.
Oh, at least, if not a half hour or something like that. So probably about 200 people filed through before, like, and they just walked past the casket, looked down, and keep walking outside the barn. Mm-hmm. And it was a super cold, windy day.
It was so cold.
The barn was heated, or the shed was heated, but the outside was pretty cold.
Yeah, it was cold. I was glad I had leggings.
I almost didn't pack a jacket, and I'm very glad I did. So they filed through. Everybody went through the line. We got dismissed, and we walked past the casket.
It's very
open
different.
Casket.
It's very different than most other like non-Amish funerals because I don't know if they embalm.
I don't think they embalmed because he was pretty like dead looking. I know that sounds super weird, but like he was very, very pale. There was nothing.
There was no makeup or anything like that.
No, he's just laying there. So that was a different sight to see. I'd never seen that before. Yeah. We walked out. And then the family stayed in for a while, like normal, where you'd have the family stay after the funeral and just have their final goodbyes. And then we all tramped off to the service, right?
No, we waited for a little while because it takes them a while to get the casket into the wagon.
Into the buggy.
Or a buggy. And I don't know why I just called that's embarrassing. Anyway, so we waited a while because it just takes them a long time to go to the graveyard. And then we were standing out there for like 30 minutes before we ever made our way
30 or 40 minutes before we headed to the
little
graveyard.
Groups of people would just like come talk to us, and like we were just kind of standing in our circle there, and I was with my parents, and they would just come up and talk to my parents, and
then they'd talk to us a little bit.
And they talked to us.
They were pretty friendly. I was surprised. I was expecting
us
to not be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
And we actually did talk to a decent amount of people.
Yeah, and we can insert a few pictures that I got. But we'll probably just blur out the faces because...
Yeah, I can do that. So we headed off to the graveyard for... What do they call that?
Like
the Graveside service, basically. And we didn't really stick around there. All the buggies that got in there, everybody had unloaded. We left a little later just because it takes them a little longer to get places with the buggy, and we had driven
But
our
we
van.
we still passed like the last few buggies going there. Because we were in our van.
They all gathered around, did the graveside service, and we got to walk around the graveyard because
I hadn't been there
her
once before.
parents,
My
some
mom
of your
grew
mom's
up.
siblings are buried there.
My mom grew up in that area where the funeral was, and so this was like where all my family was, actually on both sides.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even my dad's parents, or not parents, but like his great-grandparents, my great-grandparents would have been buried there. So my mom and dad took us around and like showed
And we
us
got
all
to
the
see
different
all the
graves.
stones.
That was super cool.
They don't do fancy stones like Americans. It's just like a square
slab.
brick that they did, and they like engraved a name and the date in, and that's it.
Yep, and there was a few that were buried like maybe a year or two, and they still didn't have a gravestone. They just had a
Yeah,
stake.
because they do it all by hand, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there's one person in the community that does it, and he's kind of behind, from what I understood.
Yeah. So that was really cool. There were some really old ones there too.
I saw
We didn't take any pictures there, did we?
We didn't.
Man.
I saw my great-grandparents and my great-great-grandparents' graves, like both sets, I'm pretty sure.
So that was
There.
pretty cool.
And my aunt that had passed away, and my aunt and uncle, and
Yeah.
it was a lot.
So then after the graveside service, we all headed back for food. And
It's actually quite delicious.
so the way they did that was like all the ladies were in the house, well, a majority of them.
Majority of them.
And then they all served out 2 windows. So it was kind of like a buffet style where like you walk up to the window, you grab your plate with
And
your
they
food.
had it all served
They all
already.
had it already served up on the plate. So you
Yeah.
just grab your plate and you head off to the shop so you can be warm because it was windy. It snowed that day too.
A little
A little
yeah.
bit. So it was pretty cold.
Yeah.
And
And like they had the choices of food. There was chicken noodle soup, which was
except
like
it was
thick.
more like, yeah, it was super thick. So it was more like a casserole to some extent.
Yeah. And then they had tapioca pudding, which is
Tapioca jello,
just Jello. Was it Jello?
which I never had. I've only ever had tapioca pudding.
I don't like it, but
It wasn't bad. It definitely, like, after a couple bites, you were like, I don't know.
And then they had like a little quarter of a sandwich, or was it half sandwich?
Yeah, it was a half sandwich. It was bread, mayo, and
Real cheese.
real cheese and bologna.
Yeah, it was really good.
Which apparently is, like, an Amish
really-
tradition for funerals.
Yeah, I really missed it.
I did not like it. I'm not a big fan of bologna. So,
And then
there
what
was
else?
that. There was coffee
And cake,
and cake.
which was decent. It was very sweet, but
All the food was really good. It was very filling. Like,
Yeah.
I normally eat a decent amount of food, and the food we had was more than enough for me.
Yeah.
I didn't need seconds or anything.
and like they had paper plates, but as much as they could, they used like plastic, and then they just washed it. And the cups too, they were like plastic cups.
Yeah, or metal.
Or metal
mugs.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I was I didn't expect that. I guess I expected them to use paper, but
yeah.
maybe they don't.
So that was the meal, and we sat around. We went upstairs and sat in the top of the shop, and we talked. I think your dad talked to his brother-in-law, who's the bishop.
Yes, maybe. I don't remember for sure.
Anyways, he talked to him for a while, and all of her dad's siblings came over and talked to us, all his brothers, except for one.
Yeah.
And they came over. We had to kind of go over to them a little bit, but they all talked for a while.
I think like 1 or 2 had joined us, and then like
and then
rest
the
all
others
came.
kind of trickled in.
Yeah. And it was really cool, like just to sit there in the same room as all my uncles. Like that, I do not remember when that happened last.
Yeah.
And
And
they
they
were
talked
all-
to me and to
Yeah.
Fanny.
And they talked in English to him, and they were very respectful, and they asked us questions, and just like a general like, how are you doing in life? Haven't talked to you in
yeah.
ever.
It was almost like a big get-together, catch-up kind of
Yeah.
thing, which I
And
was super surprised because I was
we
expecting them to be super standoffish.
Yeah, there was only the one brother that was like, he was sitting there, and he would occasionally
He kind of
like,
looked in the
peeked
room because we were in a little side room, but he never like came in and talked to us
Yeah.
because he had.
But other than that, like all my dad's siblings, except for his sister who was downstairs, and then his brother out there. But everybody
and
else was there.
we got to see her grandparents too, both sets.
And I was not expecting to see my grandma at all, because this last summer she had some major health issues, and we didn't expect her to live. And I was so grateful for the opportunity to be able to see her again and just talk to her.
She's the one that Fanny's named after.
Yeah, that I have
So.
like a special connection with her because we're very similar. We share the complete same last name. Well, I did until I married you.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I got to talk with her, and she was super interested in what I'm doing and how my life is going, and just I think generally curious.
But they were super nice. Everybody was like friendly at the minimum. I mean, definitely some people would just stare at you because, I mean, you don't fit in with the rest of all these people dressed in their black suits and pants, homemade suit pants.
Everybody was in black and white pretty much.
Yeah. And we kind of dressed that way, but not totally.
No.
Cause,
I don't even remember what I wore.
Yeah, I think I wore a black shirt with like blue pants, like dark navy blue. So I kind of fit, like it was normal funeral attire, but it wasn't Amish funeral attire per se. So after that, we basically everybody just talked around and started until they started to pack up.
Yeah.
And we got there. What time did we get there? 10 o'clock at the funeral?
I think so.
And we didn't leave till 4?
Something like that.
I want to say around 4 or something.
Dark.
It was getting pretty dark, which is pretty early in Wisconsin, but probably around 4:30.
Yeah.
So it was like an all-day event.
Yeah. But we like made our way around to all, and I even got to talk to, I think I talked to my aunt whom I didn't recognize either. So that was fun. That was my dad's sister. But yeah, I got to talk to pretty much everyone, and I was very happy. At one point, it almost seemed as if there was no difference, and it was,
like, almost seemed like they weren't Amish.
Yeah.
Which sounds weird because they all looked it, but like you almost felt like you were part of them.
Yeah, which was a super cool feeling I've never ever experienced before. So that was really fun. So afterwards, my mom's brother comes up to her and says, "Hey, we're all going over to mom and dad's place after the funeral," and just kind of leaves it open-ended like that. So it wasn't necessarily an invite, but it was also like, "Hey, we're gonna be over there." Which was cool. Subtle hint to like, you should come too.
Basically the best we could get as an invitation from them.
So that was really cool. So mom was like, "Okay, well, we'll do that." So then after the funeral, we pack everybody up in the van and we head over there, which is like a 2-mile drive, I think.
Yeah, they're just around the corner.
Yeah.
So we headed over there and we got out at the house and we started walking to the porch, and her uncle, one of her uncles, came out and was like, "It is not mom and dad's wishes that you come into the house."
Yeah.
And was like pretty firm about it. And he was like, "But you can come into the porch and you can talk from the porch into the house." So we walked into the porch. It's like an enclosed porch. And we talked through the doorway. And it was really awkward. They were a little bit more, I don't know, not as friendly, closed off.
Yeah.
So they asked questions to basically be polite.
Yeah.
But they weren't even really polite with how they asked them. So
no. But yeah, basically we visited the same grandparents earlier this year in the springtime, and
if you guys watched our video, what did we do a video for that?
I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
No, we did not. So we went and visited them.
Never mind. There was no video about that one.
We visited them in April of this year, and I don't know how else to describe it, but the vibe was totally different.
Yeah, they were much more friendlier when we visited them last year.
Grandpa went inside and got a book and like came out with a pen and book, and he was like, "Here, write down all your addresses and names and your birthdays." And I was like, "You want us to do that?" So we did. And like they were totally friendly. Like obviously we didn't go in the house, we just stood outside, but they came out to us and they talked.
But it was warm then too.
It was warm.
I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that her two uncles' families were there, so they had to kind of keep face and make sure they weren't too friendly, because otherwise they would get in trouble with their community for being almost too accepting of the family. Because Fanny's parents are shunned, so...
Grandma did not cry earlier this spring when we saw her, but she was like crying when we were there this last time. And I was like, "What is wrong with you?"
So that was really awkward. But all in all, like an Amish funeral... Sorry, I've got a kind of cold thing going on in my throat. Anywho, all in all, I would say it was like probably an 8 or 9 out of 10 experience compared to what I was expecting it to be. Very unique. I'll probably throw a couple pictures up here of some of the Amish pictures we took. We couldn't really take a lot just because that's not really something they're fond of, but we snuck a couple once we were in the van getting ready to leave through the windows.
Yeah. So but we haven't like shared them anywhere, so they're just for our personal. And then we'll put it on here with the blurred out faces. Yep.
So get you some pictures of that, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to what an Amish funeral is like. If you have more questions, drop them in the comments below.
Yeah.
And we would love to answer those. We might try, if we get enough, we'll maybe make another video about it, try to answer those. and hopefully we'll be getting a little bit more maybe consistent with photos or videos. They might not be every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, but we're gonna try to come out with some more stuff.
Let us know if you want us to do like.
I put out a poll on our YouTube page, in our like community post thing with a what would you guys like to see more. So if you're interested in that, go vote there. We'll kind of see what you guys are looking for and try to make some more content towards that. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. Let us know that you really enjoyed it. And
don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, don't forget to subscribe. We'll come out with some more stuff. I have a couple interviews I'm working on scheduling with some ex-Amish people. So hopefully we'll get some more information for that kind of stuff. So
can we give them update on the bus?
Update on the bus. It's kind of a work in progress. I didn't get it insulated over the winter, so we're gonna have to wait till springtime to get more footage of that. But we should be
sad, but it's
should be getting back to that as soon as it warms up. So
so pray that Wisconsin winters come to an end.
Come to an end early this year. So we're hoping to get that probably March or April, probably April or May. But we will try to get more of that stuff out, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.